It was 5th grade when I first discovered corn, and it would eventually start ruining my life. But we need to start from the beginning. So I was in elementary school. I had crushes on girls, but there was never any sexual desire. There was never a time where I thought I want to do things with this girl. Until one day in 5th grade, I got home from school and I saw this girl on TV. And for some reason, that set off a spark in me that would continue to this problem that I had pretty much the rest of my life up until this point. So I saw this girl on TV and I was extremely, I guess, I'm not even gonna say the word. I just wanted to do things that I've never wanted to do in my life before that were sexual. So I go in my room, lock the door, and I just get on my phone. Or I guess it was an iPod Touch at the time because I didn't even have a phone yet. I was so young. So I start looking things up and I found some crazy stuff, corn, and it was extremely accessible. It's almost like the people that made it want like kids to see it. That's honestly how it felt to me because I found it with like literally a few clicks of a button. Once again, I've never seen this before, never looked into it, never even tried to look anything like this up. But I found it and I didn't even know what I was doing. I started watching that and I was going crazy. The dopamine through my head literally felt like I had just done some sort of drug. And I bet the equivalent of the amount of dopamine that I had probably actually was similar to a drug. So I did the deed. I know it's really awkward to say it on camera, but I did that. And I was in 5th grade. So mind you, I'm barely a teenager. I don't even know if I'm a teenager yet. I might have been 12, 13. I'm not sure my age. And this became a habit where literally every day since that point, I had looked something up. Because why wouldn't you? The amount of dopamine that you have is literally unparalleled. There's nothing close to it. So anyway, I'm continuing to do this. And I noticed that anytime I'm watching a show, anytime I'm seeing anything on TV with a girl that's attractive, it makes me want to go and look this up and do that. And I didn't know this was a problem at the time, although I did feel guilty in a way. Maybe it's because I came from somewhat of a religious background, Christianity. I don't know exactly what it is, but I had lust in my heart. I had a ton of sexual desire for girls that I didn't know. And looking back, it's pretty weird considering that you were watching 2 people or more do sexual things in front of you and you get pleasure from that. That's cuck behavior if you ask me. Now I'm not gonna get too in depth on that, but I'm young and I'm just watching all of this stuff happen and it's going on and on and on. All of this continued until eventually I got caught. Because little did I know, your parents can see your search history. They can see everything you've looked up on Safari, Google, unless you're using an incognito tab, which I had no idea at the time. And also, if you're using your parents' Wi-Fi, they can see that. So my parents had been watching me look this stuff up, and eventually they decided to confront me about it, and I was ashamed, completely ashamed, embarrassed. I felt horrible about myself, and I quit. I completely quit. It was not worth the embarrassment, in my opinion. It was horrible. And I didn't know that this was just my hormones, I guess, convincing me to do this. I don't know what it was, but I quit completely. And this quit lasted for years. I was literally completely fine up until about 7th grade. In 7th grade, middle school, that's when it got really bad. So I don't know what happened. I think I had an interaction with this girl that literally stemmed these sort of memories of how good it used to feel doing these things. And I remember it. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. So in the middle of the night, once again, it started every single night. I would go to my room, lock myself away in my room, and do that. Look up crazy things, not knowing how much it was harming me. All the dopamine that I had felt was just, it was insane. It literally felt like a drug. But one thing I noticed is over time it got less and less and less. I didn't feel as good each time. Each time felt a little bit less stimulating. I cared a little bit less. I didn't feel like I had to do it as much, but I continued to do it because I was addicted until it got to a certain point where anytime I was in class and I had any sort of these thoughts, it would be all I could think about. It would take all the learning that I was doing in class and just pretty much put it to the side, and I would only be thinking about girls. Only that, only the videos that I had seen, only the explicit stuff that I had been addicted to. And this would literally last the entire school day. It would be all I could think about. And that's your worst nightmare, especially when you have to go present a project in class or something like that. Everybody knows the feeling. But this is when I started to realize it was becoming a problem, because this wasn't normal anymore. Any sight of a girl, any talking, anything like that, I would just go straight there. My mind would go straight there, and I felt disgusting. I felt like a horrible person. I couldn't even talk to people in general because it's all I would be thinking about, even my teacher. This is where things start to get a lot worse. So while I had this addiction, this is when TikTok and short form content started becoming extremely popular. So I would do these sexual things with myself alone in my room, and then I would just start scrolling on TikTok. I guess it was Musically at the time, I can't necessarily remember. But like TikTok, Instagram Reels, all that, I would just scroll for hours. So I had easy access to dopamine, so easy that anytime I would do anything else, I'd be bored. I could no longer pay attention in class. I had no work ethic. I wasn't doing anything to better my life at the time. I quit going to the gym. Everything started going downhill. And I felt like it had all stemmed from back in 5th grade when I got addicted to watching porn, because my dopamine was so fried. Now, this severe dopamine addiction led me to a point where I actually feel like I was depressed. I was really sad. I felt like I had no drive to do anything. And I also started eating unhealthy. So this was all a big snowball effect that was just horrible. It was all a negative thing that I wish I never did in the first place. This all led up to a breaking point, which I'm gonna get to in a little bit, but I need to tell you guys the reason that I'm making this video right now and telling you is because, as sad as it is, this has become a normal thing. And you don't realize how bad it is until it's gone on for a while. And you start noticing bad side effects that are not even related to your problem at hand. It's not related, or it doesn't feel related to watching porn. It doesn't feel like the reason that you feel sad, bored, upset all times. It doesn't feel like it's because of that, but that's usually where it stems from. And most guys that I know, if not all of them, have gone through this same process. So it's almost like I'm speaking to my younger self, but let me tell you guys how this actually got worse and it led to a breaking point. So now if we skip ahead, I'm so addicted that I actually could not get aroused with girls. I had ED, bro. I was a teenager with ED. Just think about that. If you don't know what ED is, it's when you can't get your little guy to stand up, you know what I'm saying? I had that as a teenager. I'm in high school at this point. This scared me really bad. But I guess it didn't scare me enough to stop because I didn't stop. Up until I got my first girlfriend. But the thing is, when I got this girlfriend, it was still bad because it's all I could think about. It's all I wanted to do. I would actually get a little bit annoyed when we didn't do things, and that was my fault. It's because of my past addictions, and I should have never taken that out on anyone else. So now this addiction had not only hurt me, but the people around me. Now this is where it got really bad. I pretty much lost all sexual desire altogether. I didn't care about being with girls at all. That drive was completely gone. Like literally zero. It dropped to a point where I didn't care if I did anything ever again. I didn't care if I talked to a girl, none of that. It literally just didn't matter to me. So eventually I quit. And that was one of the best decisions of my life because ever since I quit, things started to feel normal again. I wasn't as bored all the time. I wasn't as quote unquote depressed. And I feel like my dopamine was back in check. So if I have any word of advice to you guys, it's quit while you're ahead. Because this will literally ruin relationships. And don't do it for yourself. Do it for the people around you. Do it for your future wife. You know how embarrassing that would be if if you can't even be attracted enough to your wife to do things with her? And if there's anything you should walk away from, if you know or you feel some sort of guilt for something that you're doing, there's probably a problem there, and you should quit while you can before you're too addicted to it, like I was. Because that will actually ruin things within your life and change who you are as a person. You should never let something like your phone or a dopamine addiction take control of your life, because it will if you let it. So if there's any last piece of advice to you guys, quit while you're ahead. There's no reason to fall to these addictions, bro. There's bigger things to worry about in life. This is not one of the problems you want to have. And I'm so glad that I quit because I feel so much more clear-minded, and I honestly just feel better every single day that I go without it. That being said, good luck.